Welcome back, everybody, to Ein Sof Learning. Let's continue in our series in Talmud Eser Sefirot. We're in Chelek Aleph, Perek Aleph, Inyan Dalid, in the Orpnimi of Talmud Eser Sefirot, Ot Tzadi. We began a new topic last episode regarding the halal that remains after the Tzimtzum, and how this halal, this void, was in the image of a circle. And the Arizal reads like this: Va'az nisha'er makom panui ve'avir ve'chalal rekani minekuda ha'emsa'it mamash. And then, after the Tzimtzum, remained a vacant place and the air and the empty space from the Nekuda Emsa'it itself. Meaning, from the Nekuda Emsa'it itself, we examine an empty space. This empty space is existing within the Nekuda Emsa'it after the Tzimtzum. והנה הצמצום הזה היה בהשוואה אחד בסביבות הנקודה האמצעית ריקנית ההיא. And behold, this contraction, this tzimtzum, was in one evenness around the central point, which was empty. The tzimtzum that occurred upon the nekuda emsa'it was completely even. באופן שמקום החלל ההוא, in such a way that the place of that void היה עיגול. It was circular. It was a circle. The place of that makom, of that halal, that is empty, of the light of Ein Sof, haya igul, mikol savivotav behashva'a gemura. From every perspective, in complete equality. From every side, it was equal and even. ולא היה מתמונת מרובע בעל זווית ניצבת. It wasn't like a square that has perpendicular angles. לפי שגם אין סוף צמצם עצמו בבחינת עיגול. Because the Ein Sof contracted himself in the image of a circle. בהשוואה אחד מכל הצדדים. In one evenness from all sides. What does it mean? בבחינת עיגול. In the aspect of a circle. So last week, we reminded ourselves really, because we learned this before, what is a makom panui? First of all, before we get to describing this makom as igul, being circle, first of all, what's a makom panui? And we already explained that again last week, where we were revisiting the term, because we've seen this term already in the first episode. If you go to the first episode of this series, we actually do speak about the makom panui. What is this vacant place? It didn't exist before the Tzimtzum, but it now exists as a consequence of the Tzimtzum. A space, a place that is vacant. Before the Tzimtzum, the space was full of what? Of light of Ein Sof. Because that light had filled all of reality without beginning or end. But after the Tzimtzum, that makom that was previously fulfilled becomes emptied. It becomes drained from all the light of Ein Sof. Now, today, we're going to learn what does it mean when we're saying that this Tzimtzum was behashva'a echad, in one similarity. What does it mean that the Tzimtzum was behashva'a echad? I get it when you want to say that the light of Ein Sof was behashva'a echad. The or Ein Sof is completely even, one evenness. I can understand that. But what does it mean that the Tzimtzum haya behashva'a echad? What does it mean that the contraction itself was equal or even? I get it. The Ein Sof is a igul. And it's behashva'a echad. I get it. But what do you mean that the contraction was one evenness, in one evenness? So let's go over to the writings of Rav Ashlag. This is going to be a longer explanation. It's going to take several episodes to fulfill this this ot. We're in ot tzadi. Perush bli havchan madregot shel katan vegadol. Whenever we say behashva'a echad, one evenness, this refers to there being zero discrimination between the levels of small and big. There is no discrimination between small and big. When something is completely even, that means that you cannot discern levels. Everything is one level. Everything is on the same level. That's what it means to be even. It's like a sheet of paper. One sheet of paper. Not a packet, not a book, just a single sheet of paper. Completely flat and even in one evenness. With no borders, no perimeter. Imagine an infinite-sized sheet of paper. Nothing existed besides the endless light of God, and this endless light of God was completely even. Of course, don't really dwell on the metaphor too much. It's not a sheet of paper. Don't get lost in the metaphor. The point is, I'm trying to bring any aid to help us because we're spiritually handicapped. Let's be honest. We are spiritually handicapped people trying to understand Ein Sof, trying to understand Kabbalah, trying to understand Talmud, Esther, Sefirot. So, sometimes visuals can help, but don't get lost in the visuals. Because they are only signs or metaphors, not meant to be taken literally all the time. So, we understand what it means, b'hashba echad, just the concept of evenness. Before we get to the Tzimtzum, being even, first just understand what is evenness. Evenness is that everything is on the same level. There's no differences between small and big. Ve'ein lahakshot, מאחר שכבר נתגלה שינוי הצורה שישנו בנקודה האמצעית על ידי הסתלקות האור ממנה. And there is no need to wonder that since already the shinui tzura, the difference in form that exists within the nekudah hametzayit, has already been revealed through the departure of the light from her. After the light of Ein Sof departed from the nekudah hametzayit, it became revealed that the nekudah hametzayit has a shinui tzura from the light. It's completely different than the light. This difference in form was not apparent before the Tzimtzum. Because before the Tzimtzum, the Or Ein Sof had filled the entire reality. Therefore, there was no room for a vacant place of desire to receive, to expose itself, to reveal itself. It was concealed. But because of the Tzimtzum, when the Tzimtzum happened, when the light departed from her, it became revealed that she has a desire to receive, which is different from the desire of the light, and for that reason, she became separated from the light. אחר כך בהכרח שהוכרו משום זה גם המידות הקטנות זו לקטנה מזו שבשינוי צורה בתוך גימול המדרגות הקודמות. That this would necessitate the revelation of the measurements of katnut, midot ha-katnut, one smaller than the other, that exists within these three preceding bechinot, meaning bechina aleph, bet, and gimel. You might wonder that the light of Ein Sof departing from bechina dalid, which is the nekudah hametzayit, does this cause for the recognition of smaller midot, meaning midot ha-katnut, of the previous three phases? Because he's going to explain. The previous three phases are smaller than the fourth phase. Smaller in what? Smaller in the measure of their desire to receive. Remember that Bechina Dalid is the only Bechina that has the complete yearning and longing to receive the light, while the preceding three phases have significantly less measurements of desire to receive. So, since the light departed from Bechina Dalid, and we already explained 2 episodes ago that this also caused the light to depart from the first 3 phases, doesn't this necessarily mean that because of the Tzimtzum, it became apparent that the preceding 3 phases are smaller than the 4th phase? Because the measurement of their desire is smaller than the measurement of the desire of Bechina Dalid. And since the light has departed Bechina Dalid, that means it's also departed from the first 3 phases. And yet we're trying to break the Ari's words, which explains that the Tzimtzum was b'hashva echad. If it's b'hashva echad, then that means that there's no recognition of difference. of smallness or bigness, something being smaller or greater than anything else. So, the question that Ashlag is posing here is one that you might ask. Because the light departed, doesn't that necessarily mean that there is a recognition of smallness here? So how can the Tzimtzum be b'hashva'ah echad? Asher bechinot hagimel lemashal zacha mihanekuda ha'emsayit. He explains that phase number 3, just as an example, is more pure than the nekuda ha'emsayit. It's purer. It's more zach than Bechina Dalid. Bechina Dalid has the greatest amount of desire to receive. That's what we call aviyut. Bechina Gimel is a little bit purer, little bit less av. It has a little bit less aviyut than Bechina Dalid. So it is considered to be smaller than Bechina Dalid in terms of the measurement of the desire to receive. It is purer. It is thinner. That's what zach means. Zach, that means it is more pure, it is more thin than the thickness of Bechina Dalid. Bechina Dalid is considered to be very thick, the most thick. That's what we call aviyut. But Bechina Gimel is a little bit thinner. It's zacha yoter. It's more zach than Bechina Dalid. Mishum shemidot midat ratzon lekabel sheba hi pechuta yoter mi Bechina Dalid. Because the measure of her desire to receive is smaller than the measure of Bechina Dalid's desire to receive. V'ken Bechina Bet hu zacha yoter mi Bechina Gimel. And so too, phase number 2 is more zach than phase number 3. Ki midat ratzon sheba pechuta yoter mi Bechina Gimel. Because the measurement of her desire is smaller than Bechina Gimel. ובחינה א' היא זכה יותר מכולן, כי מידת הרצון לקבל שבה פחותה מכולן. And בחינה א', phase 1, is smaller than all of them, is more zach than all of them, because the measurement of her desire to receive is smaller than everybody else. ועל כן, שינוי צורתה אינו ניכר כמו בהן. And therefore, with regards to בחינה א', her shinui tzura, her difference in form, is not really noticeable as much, not as much as the others, being Bechina Bet, Gimel, and Dalit. Harei sheyesh kan havchan madrigot shel katan v'gadol. And behold, we see here there's difference of small and big. How can it be? This is the question. He's still explaining what you might think. He's not saying this is what it is. Don't confuse what he's saying. He's going through the rationalization. It should have been that after the Tzimtzum, there's now perception or recognition of size, differences in size. Because Bechina Dalid is bigger in terms of its ratzon, lekabel, than Bechina Gimel, Bet, and Aleph. The more the desire to receive is revealed, the lower it is considered to be on the tree of life. The purer it is considered to be, meaning the less desire to receive there is, the higher it is considered, more pure. Upwards is associated with pureness. Downward is associated with thickness or coarseness, meaning desire to receive, the pulling force. Ve'eich omer harav she'atzimtzum haya b'hashva'ah echad. So how can the Arizal tell us that the Tzimtzum was b'hashva'ah echad, in one evenness, besevivot hanekuda, around the central point? Vehit yutz hu. The answer is ki hatzimtzum lo asa et hanekuda emsayit lebechinat sof. That the Tzimtzum did not make the nekuda emsayit into a sof, into a end. כלומר, אם היה האור מסתלק מנקודת האמצעית, מסיבת שינוי הצורה שיש בה, if the Tzimtzum would have happened because of the שינוי צורה within the נקודה האמצעית, אז ודאי הייתה נעשית משום זה לבחינת סוף. Then certainly because of the Tzimtzum she would have become into a sof. שפירושו הדרגה הפחותה ביותר שאין למטה הימינה בפחיתות. Which means that she would be considered the lowest entity that's so low that there's no one lower than her. אשר אז יצא לנו להבחין גם כן את גימול בחינות הנקודות הקודמות ליותר חשובה. And this would have caused us to discern that the previous three phases are more important מהנקודה האמצעית than the central point. על דרך זה למעלה מזה, through one being above the other. Meaning, Bechina Dalet is the lowest of them all. But Bechina Gimel would be higher. Because she's smaller. Bechina Gimel is smaller. But then Bechina Bet would be even higher. Because she's even smaller. Her Ratzon is even smaller than Bechina Gimel. But then Bechina Aleph will be even smaller. Will be even higher than all of them. This is difference of levels. Zoli Mala Mizo. One above the other. Being organized in this manner. Of multiple levels. Achen lo hayaken. But the Arizal says, Rav Ashlag says, Aval lo hayaken. But Rav Ashlag says, lo hayaken. It is not so. All of what we just explained for the past 5 minutes, that's not the way it is. That's not what happened after the Tzimtzum. כי הצמצום לא נעשה מחמת שינוי הצורה שיש בנקודה. Because the Tzimtzum did not happen because of the שינוי צורה within the Nekudam Sayid. The difference in form of the Nekudam Sayid did not cause the Tzimtzum. Remember. Very important. זה לא יתכן. This is not possible. It is not possible that the שינוי צורה that exists within the Nekudam Sayid should be the cause of the Tzimtzum. Why? שהרי עדיין במלכות דאין סוף אנו עוסקים. Because behold, we are still speaking about the Nekudam Sayid of Ein Sof, the Malchut of Ein Sof. Malchut of Ein Sof is one with the Ein Sof. Asher sham ein shum shinui tzura beina lebein haor, where in which there is no difference of form between her and the light. In the realm of Ein Sof, there is no shinui tzura apparent. So how could it be that the shinui tzura caused the tzimtzum? The shinui tzura, the difference of the form of the Nekudam Sayid and the Or Elyon, the upper light, was not apparent in the realm of Ein Sof because they were one. They were one. Hu ushmo echad. Shehem shneihem ba'achdut ha'pashuta besod hu ushmo echad. They were in simple unity. Him and his name were one. אלא הצמצום נעשה רק בסוד שעלה ברצון הפשוט לברוא העולמות. Rather, the tzimtzum only happened because it rose upon his simple desire. Allah birtzono hapashut. Let's see. If it wasn't the change in form of Nekudam Sayid that caused the Tzimtzum, then what was it? Join me in the next class where we're going to continue this commentary. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.